All right, what's going on? 3 o'clock, Chad here. So happy to be with you on a Wednesday.
Yeah!
All right, we start with your Trailblazers. They have one more preseason game. It's tomorrow night. They meet the Jazz in Salt Lake City. That tip-off at 6. Chris Burkhart's going to have Blazer game day starting at 4. I have tickets all week for the opener on the 22nd against Minnesota. I will give away not one, but 2 pairs on the show today. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. Our Trailblazer insider, Sean Highkin, is going to join me at 3:20. The Mariners are 2 wins away from their first ever World Series. Amazing. Host the Blue Jays tonight. First pitch at 5:08 on FS1. Bieber and Kirby are the 2 guys who will start the game. Dodgers host the Brewers tomorrow after taking game 2, have won the first 2 games on the road in the same year. Yes, have won the first 2 games on the road in the same year.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
2.4 to play. Pryor will get it in. Richards got it. 1 second left. And that will do it. 118-111. The final score here at Moda Center. The next time basketball is played on this court, it counts.
We still believe we can do it.
Strike 3, swinging. Yoshinobu Yamamoto goes the distance in Game 2. The Dodgers win 5-1 and take a 2-0 series lead in this championship series. Yamamoto's first complete game of his major league career and the first Dodger complete game in a postseason game since Lima time in 2004.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Yeah!
A massage.
Do it till you're satisfied. Well, butter my bread and call it toast.
Look, better go.
Listen, gonna head.
All right, what's going on, my friends? Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday afternoon. I was just having a little fun with the soundboard. Get him a body bag, yeah!
Get him a body bag, yeah!
I still love Rusty Harden, too.
A massage.
That was Deshaun Watson's attorney.
A massage.
His gravelly voice should not say the word sausage. Get him a sausage.
A massage.
All right. I have Blazer tickets to give away today for the opener. Not one, but 2. Not one, not 2. How about 2 pairs today that we'll give away for the opener against Minnesota? And frankly, I'm ready for the regular season to be here. I don't know how you feel about preseason sports, but I ain't down. Never been down, never will be down. I don't like fake sports. Give me the real stuff where the wins and the losses matter. So I've got 2 pairs. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. Look, I want to help people. I care about you. I want you to be at basketball games at no charge, because the only thing better than like golf or free or sports or whatever it might be is free. Free is the right price for me. If it's free, it's good enough for me. That's the way I look at it. And I've learned that in radio. If it's not nailed down, it's going to be taken. All right. So I know you like free stuff. So I got tickets to give away today for the opener, which is going to be dope. Sean Highkin, our Trailblazers insider from Rose Garden Report, is going to join the show coming up in approximately 20 minutes. And then how about our good buddy Ian Furness, formerly from Portland, now up on 93.3 FM KJR, our sister station in Seattle. And we're going to talk with Ian, who's doing some stuff here in Portland with the Kraken. Got to get his take on the Mariners. I love Ian. He's always been very good to me and good guy, great talk show host. And so Ian Furness is going to join the show coming up at 4:20, and I have a special guest in studio at 4. So Hey, look, it's very simple. You can reach out to me right now. You can send me a text, 360-281-5473. That is the Chad Matthew Doing personal cell phone. You can also listen live and podcast the show via our free iHeartRadio app. And then check us out on YouTube. You can, the stream's going right now. You can go to youtube.com, pull up our homepage, RipCityRadio.com, and you can watch the live stream, or at least as long as you can put up with my grill. And then you can catch up on the old shows there, all right? It's that simple. 2 pairs of tickets for the opener, and we're going to talk a lot of sports. I'm totally down with football, immersed in football, and I'm loving the run by the Mariners. They got a game coming up at 5:08 on FS1, Game 3 at T-Mobile Park, and I would expect the Mariners to get the win tonight. You know, we'll see what the scene shifting will do for the Toronto Blue Jays, but it's pretty remarkable to see what the Mariners are doing right now. Number one, their pitching has been lights out. Great starting pitching and great bullpen work. And their bats, especially guys a little bit down in the order, are starting to come to life. And Jorge Polanco has been terrific. We even saw Gino get involved in the action in Game 2. So they're having a lot of other guys step up to make plays, which is terrific. And the weird part for me, at least in this series, I thought Seattle would win this series based on everything I've seen from them, the defense, the pitching, and the timely hitting. But the Blue Jays were a juggernaut coming in. They just routed the Yankees. Their bats have been hot. They'd had good pitching. And all of a sudden, they're ice cold. And I wonder, you know, they took care of biz against the Yanks, and then they had to wait a few days before they played Game 1 against Seattle. So I wonder if those few days off put a little hitch in their giddy-up. Because I've heard other hitters talk about this, that if you're hot or if you're in a groove, their batting average as a team in the ALDS was .338, and they had 21 extra base hits, but now they're ice cold. And so my thought would be that, you know, based on what other hitters have told me and what I've been able to gather, is that sometimes the last thing you want when you're hot and you're seeing everything well at the plate is to have a few days off. And see, it was all backwards. We thought that Seattle was screwed going to Toronto for Game 1 because they would be gassed coming off that series and the 15-inning outing on Friday against Detroit. What was that, a stutter, Chad? Detroit. Hey, yo, boo-boo. Every once in a while, I slur a word or I stutter, and it just reminds me of how dumb I am. Well, you know, the Detroit Tigers, Chad doing? Jeez, get a hold of yourself, Chad. Get a grip. What's wrong with you? So I think that the time off may have been detrimental to Toronto. I don't know how else to explain it. They're 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position, and they have 2 extra base hits so far in the ACLS. ACLS? Here we go again. Boy, this is the type of show it's going to be. Hey, have you checked out the ACLS, the American Championship League Series? Chad, get a grip. I'm a little caffeinated right now. I worked out today, and on Wednesdays with my buddy Luke, I do the full body workout. I've mentioned this before, and it's very strenuous. And I get this, I got this powder, not cocaine, but it's a pre-workout supplement, and it's got beta carotene in it that makes you itchy all over. It makes you feel great, and then you go out and you work out and you get a good pump on. And that's what Shagger asked me when I came in today. Did you get a good pump? I did. I pumped it good today. Had a good workout. And so I go through that, and then after it's over, I have this, I think it's from like Optimum Nutrition, Burkhardt knows. But I've got this post-workout supplement as a drink that I have, and it's delicious. It's fabulous. So by the time I get into studio on Wednesday, and now I've got a little shot of espresso working right now, I don't know if it's the caffeine. I know that I'm mentally deranged on some level. I think you all know that if you've listened to me long enough. But it's the caffeine, the mental derangement, and I've got a million things going through my mind. It's like, so forgive me. Forgive me for being a little bit loose with my lips and stuttering today, and we'll see what words I slur. But love where the Mariners are at. And here's what you want to make sure you do. They're going to win the series, right? So are the Dodgers. And I don't know what the Brewers are doing right now, but it's a good reminder that what happens in the regular season doesn't mean jack. And now the report's coming out from L.A. because I thought they were kind of an embarrassment this year. Their roster is worth like $1 billion plus. They have the best lineup. They have supreme pitching. And yet they really struggled in the second half. And I was like, what in the world's going on? I predicted before the year began that they would challenge the Mariners 116 wins from 0-1. That's the type of roster they have, and yet they didn't even come anywhere close. Well, they won like 93 games. So they dramatically underachieved as a roster, but it sounds like with some of the injuries, they got nicked up a little bit. They made a decision that, hey, we're not going to grip and grind to worry about winning X number of games. We want to focus on getting into the postseason healthy. It doesn't excuse the poor play at times during the second half, but we all know this in sports. Like the Mariners won 116 games. No one gives a rip. You know why? Because they didn't win the championship. Or how about the Golden State Warriors when they put together that absurd run in 15-16 where they won 73 games and they had more regular season wins than the 96 Bulls? As Jordan said it best, 73 doesn't mean bleep if you don't have a ring. So I think the Dodgers just made a calculated decision that, hey, we're just going to rest the guys, make sure that we get them healthy for the postseason. It means we're going to give up some games along the way, but the most important thing for us in the lineup that we have and the pitchers that we have is that if we're healthy, if we look roster to roster, no one can compete with us. And the Brewers dominated the Dodgers during the regular season, and now look, the Dodgers are getting great starting pitching. I still don't trust anyone in their bullpen outside of Roki. I thought for sure Trinan was going to give up that game the other night, but he did not. But they're starting pitching with, I mean, take your pick, right? Freaking Yamo was awesome last night. Blake Snell was unhittable in game one. They've got Shohei, and they're going to counter with, I think, Blake Snell in game three. Yeah, good luck with that, Milwaukee. They're done. They have no chance. The Dodgers are just better than they are. And the Brewers made the mistakes last night. They couldn't come up with the timely hit, and the Dodgers got everything they wanted. Teoscar Hernandez is a maddening baseball player. I like the guy, and he's been great at the plate for them the last couple of years with the home runs and the extra base hits. He's clutch. But the guy is a dum-dum when it comes to any type of decision-making on base running and or lackadaisical defense. So Teoscar, it's like you get the good and the bad. Good, I'm going to hit home runs and extra base hits and, get dudes across the plate, which is good. The bad, I'm going to look foolish at times in the outfield, and I may make a base running error or two. But, hey, I'm going to mash for you, dog. And what in the world got into Dave Roberts last night? He actually kept Yamamoto in the game and said, yeah, just go with the complete game. Okay, I'm supposed to, very robotic too, which goes against being a manager. Office where he's like, okay, I'm supposed to, very robotic too, which goes against being a manager. I need to take out my starting pitcher here. Why? Use your gut, dum-dum. It's okay to use your gut as a manager. It's like, no. Blake Snell's mowing through everyone in the lineup. I'm going to stick with Blake Snell in game one. And I think he learned from his mistakes after the bullpen almost gave it up, Roki and Trinan together. And last night he's like, screw it, I'm sticking with Yamo. Yamo be there in the ninth. Yamo be there. I can't say it without singing it. I love that song. Okay, coming up next, Sean Hyken, our Trailblazer Insider, will join us. We'll get his takeaways from what we saw last night. And, I want to find out who's been the most impressive to him so far in the preseason. I'm loving me some Donovan Clingan right now. Ian Furness at 420. Chad Doing here. You got the Rip City Drive in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, so if memory serves correct with this song here, James Ingram and Michael McDonald were originally going to name it Yahweh. Yahweh be there, but Quincy Jones thought it might be too religious, so they changed it up to Yamo. All right, the Trailblazers have one preseason game remaining. Thank God. Lord, thank you. We don't need more preseason basketball, extended quarters, and excessive foul calls in our lives. Thank goodness it's only 4. And the regular season opener is coming up on the 22nd. Joining us now is my good friend and our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, the one, the only Sean Hike. And hey, Sean, as always, I appreciate your time, buddy. I wanted to ask you this, and then I'll share mine with you. But through the 3 preseason games, like, who's been the most impressive Trailblazer to you, and why?
Are we talking about the younger guys, or are we talking about the veteran? Like what are we talking about here? Because there could be a couple different answers for me.
Okay, well, I would say let's start with the younger Trailblazers, and then I'll get your take on overall, including the vets, who's been the most impressive.
Oh, well, then it's Shaden for sure. Like that's pretty clear. Like going into, at the start of training camp, there was, all the talk that first week was just how great he's been, how locked in he's been on the defensive end. And, as we talked last time I was on with you after the first Golden State game last week, we were all thinking, okay, that's great that all the players and Chauncey are saying that he's looked great in practice, but, like, that's fine, but whatever. Like, it's just training camp. And then you've seen it over these 3 games where he's just, outside of the first half of the Sacramento game, you're talking about basically 5 of the 6 halves that they've played so far in preseason. He's been exactly what I think everybody was hoping he would be at the start of the season or at the start of training camp.
I've been very impressed with Shaden Sharp. I think for me, I've been wildly impressed with Donovan Clingan. One,
yes,
because he's put himself in really good condition. You can tell that he's leaner and moving well, but he's been rebounding at a terrific rate. And I think now with his conditioning, he's going to be able to play larger minutes, which is necessary based on their rotation at center. But for me, Donovan Clingan has been terrific. What do you think about Donovan's play?
Well, I thought last night in the second Warriors game was easily the best game that he's played so far in preseason. But, yeah, I mean, having seen him at training camp, like just physically, even before they started playing any games, you could tell that he's slimmed down. And he was talking about how, well, the last time he talked to us at practice, he was talking about how he wasn't like getting winded doing, playing for 12 minutes straight in practice anymore. And then he's been very effective. I think the finishing is still a little bit of a work in progress on the offensive end, but that's gotten even better. But like he's been pretty solid. Like I think Donovan's a guy where like I didn't have as many questions about him outside of the conditioning, which it seems like that's in a good spot right now because just going into the season, you know what he is roughly as a player. Like, what he's good at. You know what his weaknesses are. He kind of is what he is as a player. And it was just a matter of, like, is the conditioning going to get to where everybody was saying it needed to get to? And so far, the answer to that one seems to be yes. But I think overall, Donovan's had a pretty strong preseason.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, by the way, Drew Holiday, just watching him, I mean, Trailblazer fans, don't you think they're going to fall in love with him, Sean? Because I was watching him last night. His ability to defend in one possession, like multiple spots. He can defend different types of players, his smarts. He seems to always be in the right position. Like, man, Chauncey Billups is going to love this guy.
That's why I asked you when you asked me who's the most impressive player in camp, whether we were talking about the young guys or the vets, because Drew is the other guy that I was thinking of. Now, with Drew, like really going back to June when they made the trade, my immediate take on it was Drew Holiday is a player that you trade for when your goal is to win more games than you won last season. And he's so plug and play. He's so, you put him on the court and he knows what he's supposed to do. He knows where he's supposed to be. He's not going to really make mistakes. The question, with him this season, just because he's an older guy and he's dealt with some injury problems throughout the last couple of years, is how he's going to hold up physically through an 82-game season. I'm sure they're going to manage that and manage his minutes and maybe hold him out on some back-to-backs at some point. But, I mean, he's such a hand-in-glove fit, and he's such a smart player. It's actually kind of funny that, they played 2 of these 3 preseason games against the Warriors because the guy that the Warriors added this offseason is Al Horford, and he's like the big man version of Drew Holiday, where it's just like you put him on the court, you know that he's going to make the right plays, you know he's going to make guys around him better, you know that he's just going to know exactly what he's supposed to do. So even in these couple of preseason games, you're seeing why the Blazers made such a priority of bringing Drew in and what he's going to do as long as he can stay healthy.
What was the deal? I know there were some whispers of injury concern with Drew Holiday when the Blazers acquired him. Like, did you ever find out what that was about? Because I've watched him play now in the preseason. He looks perfectly healthy.
I don't think that was anything. I think that was just a situation where they, agreed to the trade, gave up the 2 second-round picks, and then usually, the way I would put it is whenever a trade happens, you're going to do a physical as part of agreeing to the trade and finalizing the trade. And if you're looking for something in a physical, you can probably find it as far as like an injury so that you can go back to the Celtics and say, hey, he's banged up a little bit. Can we get those picks back? I don't think it was anything more than that. We all, this is like collectively all of us in the local media, including myself, we all kind of messed up at his introductory media availability over the summer where, we didn't ask him this then, but I did ask him it on media day. That, there was that, weird stuff with the health stuff that ended up making the terms of the trade altered. Are you all good? And Drew said on media day he's fine. And so far he's looked fine. And again, I'm sure given that he's an older guy who's been in the league for a long time, they're probably not going to play him 35 minutes a game every night. They're going to probably try to, especially once Scoot gets healthy and there's, somebody else willing to, able to take those minutes a little bit more so than somebody like Blake Wesley playing extended minutes. They're going to pick their spots to give Drew some rest and make sure he holds up because the reason that they traded for him is because they want to make the play-in. And so you want to have him healthy for, March, April when that push is happening.
We're talking with Sean Hyken, our Trailblazers insider from Rose Garden Report. Young Hansen, I'm concerned that the hype around him coming out of Summer League may be a little bit too high. And I don't know if fans are necessarily prepared for some of the struggles that he's almost certainly going to face in his first year as a rookie as a big man. And not only that, but the speed of the game going from the CBL to all of a sudden taking on 4s and 5s who just move at a different pace than what he's accustomed to. What do you think the team's expecting from him in year one?
I know that there's a lot of crazy expectations out there for him because of, the night he got drafted, somebody said he was Chinese Jokic, which obviously when you're comparing a 19-year-old to potentially one of the 10 greatest players of all time, that's kind of putting something on the kid that he's not going to be able to live up to. But from everything that and plus, like, he looked awesome at Summer League, and that just kind of increased the hype around him. From everybody that I've talked to in the organization and also a lot of the stuff that Chauncey has said publicly, I don't think the team has these crazy expectations for him. I think everybody involved knows that it's going to take him a while to get fully accustomed both to the speed of the NBA, but also some of the language barrier stuff that has been an issue at times in terms of like him being able to understand what the coaches are saying during timeouts when his interpreter is in there trying to relay that stuff, in this kind of loud, chaotic arena environment. Like, there's just so much, even besides like the physical stuff with, him being on the court and how he holds up. Like, there's so much other stuff out there that's just going to have to take some time. And, I think we kind of have seen the two extremes of it already. Like, there are going to be nights where he looks like he looked in that first Golden State game where he looked completely out of his depth and it was too fast for him and he was just completely lost out there. And then there are going to also be some nights like what he did in the second half against Sacramento the other night where you're like, okay, this is what it's going to be once he puts it all together. I think last night in the third preseason game, he was kind of somewhere in between. I don't think he was as bad as he was in the first game. I don't think he was as good as he was in the second game, but he didn't look like he was completely lost out there, and he looked like he belonged on an NBA court. And I think if they get through the season and he looks like he can hang, and it's more good than bad, then I think everybody's going to be very happy with where it is. But as far as the, superstar, the Jokic, if that ever happens, I don't think that's going to happen in year one. And I don't think anybody within the organization really expects that.
The other part that I kind of feel for him, too, is because of his name and where he's from, he's kind of a global icon, a superstar, and he's going to get an awful lot of attention because he comes from China. compared to other younger players on the team who are going to play more and have a bigger impact. I hope that his teammates will be okay with that over the course of the season.
You know what? This group of guys, as far as like the personalities, I don't think any of these guys are that concerned about like, why am I not getting as much media attention as these guys? And I think there's also an element, and like I go back to like a couple days after, and I'm probably the only one that like pays attention to this stuff, or I probably shouldn't pay attention to this stuff as much as I do, but like I follow a lot of like what the players post on social media and stuff, and so it's like like 2 or 3 days after the draft in June, I saw Scoot on his Instagram share a picture of Yao and T-Mac together from the Rockets. And it just reminded me that, obviously Yao was like a global phenomenon and a huge superstar in China, but Tracy McGrady was also extremely popular in China because he was Yao's teammate. And so he had a ton of fans over there too. And so I think a lot of these guys are kind of, if they're thinking about this kind of stuff, they're seeing that like, if this guy is this popular in China, we're gonna get a lot more attention by association. And like somebody like Shaedon Sharpe, who has this, especially if he has the breakout year that people think he's going to have, and the style of play that he has, where he has these crazy dunks and stuff, I think that's going to make him a huge star in China just by association. But I will also say, as far as that element of it, there have been a lot of Chinese, media outlets that have been covering these first couple of weeks of training camp and these early preseason games. And I've gotten to talk to a bunch of those folks and some of the fans that I've seen there. They have pretty reasonable and realistic expectations. I don't think any of the Chinese fans and media that are following Yang Hansen are coming into this expecting that, he's going to come in and dominate and he's going to be the second coming of Jokic from year one. I think they all they understand that, it's been a long time since Yao that they've had a player that's, really done anything in the NBA, and they all really want him to be successful, but I don't think they are coming in expecting him to be successful right away, and they know that it's going to be a big adjustment for him and it's going to take some time. So I actually think everything I've seen from that, at least that's crossed my radar, because obviously there's a lot of it that's in another language that I can't read, so I don't know what every single thing that's out there, but it seems like everybody's expectations level for him, here and in China, from what I can understand, is all pretty healthy.
All right. I'm getting questions about this. I'll ask you. I don't know if you have knowledge, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but have you heard if KUMP will be available on YouTube TV for this season?
No. As far as I know, no. And that's out of the Blazers' hands. That's between YouTube and Sinclair. But, that's between them, and from what I understand, Google/YouTube isn't really that interested in regional sports networks being on their network, because it's just it's not worth it enough for them financially. Believe me, I have YouTube TV also, and my preference would be for it to be on YouTube TV. But I have an antenna, I have Blazer Vision. Those are both pretty reasonable things to do. But as far as I know, nothing's changed about the YouTube TV situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I just hope fans understand that's not a Trailblazer thing. It's out of their hands. They can't change that situation. It's up to the other parties involved.
Yeah, I know. You and I both know that, and I think for the most part fans know that, and I think they're a little bit more willing to be patient about it because it's so much easier to watch games with this current deal than it was with Root Sports. You can go buy a TV and a digital antenna for $15 and you can get every game
or less.
TV. It's very easy to do.
Yeah, the setup is easy.
I did it all last year.
Yeah, it's super easy. I've got the setup, and I got to be honest with you, I like all the free channels. I'm able to access some different content at times that I like to watch too. All right, Sean Highkin, Trailblazer Insider from Rose Garden Report. You hear him weekly with his Trailblazer Insider show, his podcast, which is on YouTube, and you can read him at rosegardenreport.com. All right, buddy, I appreciate you. Thanks for your time. And one more preseason game to go before we get to the real stuff, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to these games actually counting.
Yeah, me too, buddy. We'll catch up soon. Thank you, Sean.
All right.
All right, so there you go. I get people asking me that all the time. It appears that KUNP is not going to be on YouTube TV. It's not the Blazers' fault. That's between, Google and Sinclair. I would prefer that it's on YouTube TV. It would make my life much easier because I love YouTube. I've got my NFL ticket. I use YouTube TV. It's a phenomenal product because you can access it anywhere. Like, for example, last night, I'm at the Blazer game. I've been doing this the last week now, where I'm working in Motor Center, but up on my little trusty computer, I've got the baseball games on, so I can pay attention to what's going on with the Mariners. Last night, the Brewers and Dodgers. Where's Dave Roberts? Take a listen to this. Speaking of the Dodgers, so we saw that mistake in Game 1. Teoscar Hernandez not knowing what's going on. Again, well, you can take a listen to Dave Roberts. It was just a brain fart. Was summed up. Well, you can take a listen to Dave Roberts. It was just a brain fart. I have those all the time. Brain farts happen.
I just wonder what you saw in that kind of weird double play. Did you figure it out as it was going on, or it happened so fast you didn't even realize what was happening?
It happened fast. I didn't know he didn't catch it, to be quite honest. We go over that rule. Teo knows the rule. I think right there he just had a little bit of a brain fart. Appreciating that when it does hit the glove, you can tag there, but then he tagged, did it correctly, then saw, he didn't catch it and went back, and that was the mistake.
And it was a brain fart. I love it when you can just simply explain things away. Dude, it was just a brain fart, man. No big deal. It could have cost us the game, but it's just a brain fart. Hey, Manager Roberts, when Teo is casually running around the outfield trying to secure balls, is that a brain fart or just him being lazy out there playing defense? Like, I love Hernandez. He's great, but sometimes he just drives me bonkers. It's like, what are you doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. It's a brain fart. Yeah. Don't worry about it, man. Just a brain fart. It's all good.
I just wonder what you saw in that kind of weird double play. Did you figure it out as it was going on, or it happened so fast you didn't even realize what was happening?
It happened fast. I didn't know he didn't catch it, to be quite honest. We go over that rule. Teo knows the rule. I think right there he just had a little bit of a brain fart. Appreciating that when it does hit the glove, you can tag there, but then he tagged, did it correctly, then saw, he didn't catch it and went back, and that was the mistake.
Thank you, Roberts. Appreciate that. I still can't believe he left Yamo in there for the entire game. Very un-Dodger-like, very un-Roberts-like for him to do such a thing. It was the right call. But I thought he was going to, get cute with that. Well, yeah, we could only throw him so many pitches. But he actually went with his gut last night. He's like, dude, he was in a good flow, just mowing guys over. So I stuck with him. I hope we see more of that. You don't have to go auto robotic and just turn to your bullpen. Especially with bums you may not trust completely. But I trust Yamo. He was on fire last night. Yes. Just remember that, Roberts. Yamo, be there for you. They were going to say Yahweh, but Quincy Jones thought it'd be too religious. Oh, I'm not doing it. I want to, but I'm not going to. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Such a great song. It's so nice. That's the way I explain away mistakes on the radio. I think Chad just had a brain fart there. It's okay. But I'm not paid many millions of dollars to track down balls in the outfield. Is it too much to ask that, at least in the postseason? I understand it's a long regular season, but is it too much to ask that Teo shows a little effort defensively? All right, we'll keep things rolling. We're going to come back and hear from Tua. I don't know why he's apologizing. You're going to call out your teammates. You're the quarterback, and now you're apologizing and walking it back. What's up with that? Someone needs to call out those guys because the Dolphins have been hot garbage so far. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. I've always thought this is kind of a funny song. We don't have to take our clothes off. We could, but we don't have to. Whatever. All right. I want you to hear from Tua, the Dolphins quarterback. I actually was proud of him because he called out his teammates after that ridiculous loss to the Chargers. I wanted Miami to win because Denver's in the same division as L.A. It would have been beneficial to Denver in the division, but the Chargers did a good job. After nearly collapsing, they somehow made a big play with their very good young wide receiver, McConkey, who got them in field goal range, and they win it at the buzzer. And the Dolphins, had put in a lot of work to get back in the game. They were trailing 26-13. They went back-to-back touchdown drives on the Chargers defense that appeared to be gas in the Miami sun and humidity. But they gave up the big play, and that's what's crazy now in the NFL. Even inside of a minute, or if you have 30, 35 seconds on the clock, with the new kickoff rules, there's a good chance you're going to be starting that drive at like the 35 or the 40. So you need one big play, depending on who your kicker is, and before you know it, you're in a position to tie or win the game. And we've already seen that happen a few times this year where the kicker doesn't get it within the landing zone and the team starts out on the 40. That is a brutal, very punitive penalty. So you got to watch out for that. Just another way not to trust kickers. Not only do we not trust them sometimes not to make a short kick and put it down the middle, now we got to worry about them somehow missing the landing zone, which is as wide as Texas. But Tua spoke pretty candidly after the game on Sunday, and when he talked about guys showing up late for team meetings. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, well, I think it starts with the leadership in helping articulate that for the guys, and then what we're expecting out of the guys, right? We're expecting this, that. Guys not showing up to player-only meetings, there's a lot that goes into that. Do we have guys not showing up to player-only meetings? There's a lot that goes into that. Do we have to make this mandatory? Do we not have to make this mandatory? So it's a lot of things of that nature that we got to get cleaned up, and it starts with the little things like that.
All right, there's Tua. Now, the only weird thing he said, he's like, we got to talk to the leaders. Like, well, you were the quarterback. You're one of the leaders on the team. But I didn't have a problem with that. Sometimes the quarterback has to, call guys out. And he didn't call anyone out specifically by name. But he's like, hey, we got to pay attention to the details. Well, he came out and apologized. Take a listen to this.
All right, so, I, as a leader of this team, of the Miami Dolphins, the comments that had been said, I would say I've made a mistake, and I'm owning up to that right now. I've talked to guys on the team about it, talked to the leaders about it, and that they know my heart. They know that the intent was right, but no matter the intent, the intent can be right, but when things get misconstrued or however the media wants to portray it, that leaves a void of silence and a lot of questions for the guys on our team.
All right, there's Tua apologizing. I don't know how things could get misconstrued. He was pretty direct and very clear in his messaging after the game on Sunday. And I have no issue with the quarterback bringing things to light if he feels like that's what the team needs. Now, you don't want, as a quarterback, to throw out a guy under the bus by name publicly. The quarterbacks have to be real careful how they handle business. They're like a mini CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So the way they dress, the way they act, the way they talk, the way they communicate, the way they lead, it's under a microscope at all times. And you've got guys on the team who you need their support. You need to know they're going to follow you into battle. So you do have to, mind your P's and Q's as a QB because there's no position like it in sport. But I don't know why I apologize. If you got players showing up late or not showing up on time to players-only meetings, that's a problem that needs to be dealt with. So I don't know why Tua, he must just be a nice guy or too nice of a guy to apologize. But if you got morons who are showing up late, that's a problem because that shows that guys aren't on the same page. And I think it also could be a reflection of the lack of leadership at the top with their head coach, Coach McDaniel. But I have no issue with Tua calling guys out. And Tua, he leads by example, works hard, puts in the practice time. I mean, he's nearly died multiple times on a football field, and yet he continues to go out there and battle. So I would imagine the players respect him. And when you give him time, and especially when he's playing at home too, he's still very productive as a quarterback. He's an accurate passer. And he's a good dude. But no need to apologize, man. If guys need to be called out, call them out. It's important. I mean, in the NFL, it's no different than any other business. You all work with people like the guy or the lady that's never on time. Doesn't it drive you crazy? It's like, what, your time more important than my time? Why aren't you here? We got work to get done. And if you're showing up lackadaisical to a players-only meeting, you should be called out for that. And those things are only going to be heightened, or they become more important when you're not winning. Winning solves a lot of problems. You can overlook some things, but, when you start losing and as much money's on the line for these teams, when guys are showing up late and they're not paying attention to details, they're going to get called out or disciplined or whatever. But the quarterback is the one who kind of has to set the tone. That's why they show up first. That's why they leave last. They put in the preparation time. They communicate with their teammates. They try to encourage. And when they've got to scold one of their teammates, they do it behind closed doors. It's very rare that you see a franchise-type quarterback, openly call guys out. Trailblazers' final preseason game is tomorrow. Tip at 6 against the Jazz. We'll have game day. Trailblazers' final preseason game is tomorrow. Tip at 6 against the Jazz. We'll have game day starting at 4 o'clock with Chris Burkhardt here in your home of the Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio. When we come back, my friend Bruce is going to join me in studio and share his story, which is a good one. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 4 o'clock chat here. Trailblazers have one more preseason game tomorrow night. They're going to take on the Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City. That tip-off is at 6. Chris Burkhart will have Blazers game day starting at 4. Right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. I've got tickets all week for the opener on the 22nd against Minnesota. I've got 2 pairs to give away on the show today. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. The Seattle Mariners are 2 wins away from their first ever World Series. They're going to host the Jays tonight. That first pitch from T-Mobile Park is at 5:08 on FS1. Bieber and Kirby is your pitching matchup. The Dodgers will host the Brewers tomorrow in Los Angeles after taking Game 2 5-1 and winning the first 2 games on the road. It's the first time in 55 years that the road teams in the LCS have won the first 2 games on the road in the same year. You got more of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. All right, Ian Furness is coming up in 20 minutes, but joining me in studio right now is a gentleman with a great story. I'm talking about Bruce Zielsdorf from...
It's fun to say.
Sometimes I look at people's last name like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, no, it's a rough one. It's fun to spell.
Sometimes I look at people's last name like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, no, it's a rough one. It's fun to spell.
You and I were just talking about the good old days of G.I. Joe's, where you would go to meet Trailblazer players, which you did and I did. And, of course, that's where you would go for the Ticketmaster outlet, where you would get tickets for games. Who did you meet at G.I. Joe's?
Oh, man. I think it was 89 or 90. Buck Williams, and he had like a perfect cursive autograph. Yeah, nice cursive. And then Clyde came in his Mercedes and, scribbled on it. It was awesome. It was amazing back then, man. G.I. Joe's was everything.
It was everything. They had everything you needed in one spot. And you and I basically have the same type of life experience, but I'm the same way. Those are the guys that I grew up with, Clyde, Terry, Buck, Jerome, that drew me into Rip City. And so, when you're 12, 13, 14 years old and you're seeing those dudes bumping around town, they were larger than life.
Huge. Absolutely. It's so funny.
I love that. But you're also, because you were born in Portland, so you're a Northwest guy through and through, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Seahawks fan. They look great. Sam Darnold's balling out of his mind, and Jackson Smith and Jigba looks like he might lead the NFL in receiving. He's been nice. And then you're a long-suffering Mariners fan. And think about this. Your team is doing the unthinkable right now, 2 wins away from the World Series, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like the 15-inning game, I was just sweaty, waiting for it to, is this it?
Yeah.
It was horrible. But, man, they keep coming through.
That game gave me anxiety.
Oh, it's horrible.
Because I thought it was lost on both sides 10 separate times.
Yeah, I know.
Get a hit!
I know. It's just awful. Yeah, and they have such a hard time playing small ball, too. So they'll have runners at first and second, and no outs and 2 strikeouts and a pop-up.
Yeah, how many times did they leave guys stranded in extras? It was mind-blowing, but so much fun. And so I'm excited with what we see right there. But I love your story. Obviously, you own and operate Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic, but talk about your pathway. I'm fascinated by entrepreneurs, people who grind and create their own business. So talk about your pathway, the groundwork that got to that point where you're able to create your own company.
Yeah, I started out just doing side work, project management for guys that were doing house flips where they were buying really messed up houses. And
so not even a full-time job?
No, I had a whole nother gig going on. And so I just did it on nights and weekends and when I had time, and just started doing remodels and things, and then kind of worked my way into building houses and then partnering with other people and doing demos and land development, got into waterproofing and excavation, just kind of grew a little bit at a time every year, and then started doing a lot of sewer work about 10 years ago, and then got into plumbing and then septic. And so, yeah, it's just grown and grown and grown and grown. A lot of work here in Portland.
How many years are we talking from the start of that up until you created Axiom?
Oh, man. It's a 15, 20 years over time, just like grinding it out and growing it.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked my dad, because my dad's a handyman. He was an engineer by trade, but he can build stuff. He can use a wood lathe. He can carve. He can build a house, which he's done before. He can work on cars. I'm like, how did you learn how to do all this stuff? And he never really has an answer. He's like, I don't know. I just spent a lot of time around Papa when I was younger. He goes, but you have to remember, I grew up in a day and age where we didn't have replaceable products. So he goes, if something broke or something went down, I had to learn how to repair and fix.
By doing it.
Yeah.
That's the same with me. I didn't.
Is that how you learn, just by doing it?
Yes, I didn't know how to do anything, Chad. I didn't pay attention to school. I just goofed off. So I had to learn just by doing it.
Yeah.
I had to jump in with both feet and just do it and get it done and figure it out. And I just ended up liking it, you know. So I kind of stumbled into doing different things. I really enjoy fixing messed up stuff or restoring it. And I think that's a big part of it. Like with sewers and plumbing and septic, you're dealing with the grossest stuff, and the biggest problems and the biggest messes. And so you're able to fix it, hand off something beautiful, and it's done for many years. So that's the part where you have the passion for it entering into the equation.
Well, the one thing I've really grown accustomed to over the course of time as I've gotten older is that I go out of my way to support local business. I'm a big believer in that because you guys are the backbone of the country in terms of the work that you do and the jobs you provide. I think it's a wonderful thing. And so I always want to support local first and foremost. And that's what I love about you is that with Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic, you guys are still local, right? Because a lot of these companies will start, and then you get the big capital groups to come in, they take it over, and you lose that personal connection with a local business, right? But you guys are still fully local, family-owned and operated, which is great.
Yes.
And that means a lot to you.
Absolutely, for sure. And, yeah, I mean, so we have a super, family-oriented feeling where, it's just me. I don't have, some rich partner on the East Coast or something like that. That's it. It's all local owned, all local employed. So, we're still grinding it out in the trenches here in Portland.
All right, let's start with the plumbing side. So what are the typical issues or the things that people will call about or maybe don't know about that they should keep an eye on in terms of the work that you guys do with plumbing?
Yeah, a lot of it's like the water leaks, where stuff will just happen, things wear out. And so like we had a call last week where a lady had a leak in her crawl space. She didn't know how bad it was, and we took a video of it, and it's just pouring out because her joint on her water pipe had failed and flooded her whole crawl space. So, we have to get there. We have to get in there, diagnose it, figure it out, and tell them how much it's going to be to fix it and do a great job. And then, it's, a lot of it's just communication and follow through and know-how and, execute whatever needs to be done.
That's great. And I would imagine, too, with the wintertime coming, you guys help keep things running clear throughout the course of the winter, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. A couple of years ago, we had that big ice storm, and it was crazy.
Madness?
Oh, yeah, it was insane. I mean,
Your phone's going off the hook at that point?
Dude, it was bad. We had to, just reassure people that we were going to get out there as soon as we could. But people were – I live out in the country in Boring, and so I had my whole driveway had like 50 trees across. All the power lines were down, so – it was just carnage. So, we were repiping and fixing totally exploded pipes all through the Portland area because all the heat was off too because the power lines were off. So it froze so hard. It messed everything up. So we were all over. We were still fixing stuff late into spring because it had backlogged so badly and people were waiting in line to try to get everything fixed.
Gosh. Bruce Sealsdorf from Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. They handle all things water and waste in studio, talking about his story and his business. So that's the plumbing side. What are the typical things you deal with on the sewer and septic side?
Yeah, so for sewer, we do a lot of real estate transactions where they'll do a sewer scope when they sell it, and so we'll do a lot of those replacements where it's an old house or something like that, or an old line that hasn't been updated. We're doing stuff that's 100, 120-year-old sewers that are still functioning, just barely. But, they're all worn out. They're old terracotta pipe or concrete or cast iron, and they're just done. And so we'll have a bunch of different methods that make the most sense to replace it. And then we do a lot of sewer scopes and where people are like, hey, I haven't had mine done in a long time, or I've never done a sewer scope, or I've never cleaned my pipes. So come take a look. Let me know what's going on here. And so we do a lot of that. We do a lot of work in the street all the way into the mains. We do sewer extensions in the city of Portland and all over the place. So there's a lot of things where we're putting in new manholes, we're putting in new lines, and then we do a lot of, with septic too, we'll do a lot of abandonments where the septic is old and needs to be replaced, and so we'll hook them into city sewer because they brought in city sewer at some point. So
how does one, you would know better than me, but how does one keep an eye on their plumbing, sewer, and septic to maybe prevent it from getting too bad, or are there ways you can monitor it to avoid the disaster type situation? Like what do you recommend in that
A
spot?
lot of that is just paying attention to how things are draining.
Yeah.
And then also like with the ads we're doing, we're talking about it is, making sure you got good water pressure, or if you got rusty pipes, all that's just signs of wear and tear, like where things will just constrict down to where you don't have any flow and they need to be replaced.
So if people got that indicator, they can contact you. You can replace the pipes and make sure that you prevent the bigger disaster from coming. And that'll save you money in the long run, right?
Oh, totally. Because if a pipe breaks in the wall when you're gone, it'll just keep going. There's no shut off for it, and so you flood your whole house. It's horrible. We see it all the time where stuff will break without warning, and if you wait too long, you're asking for a big problem. Because not only replacing the pipes is one thing, but then when that water floods everything else, you're basically rebuilding the home almost, right? So like insurance it's just a big mess. It's a literal disaster, right? And it's the same with the sewer. If you wait too long and you're like, it's kind of draining slow. I learned this the hard way as a homeowner, right?
Yeah.
When I bought my first house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what? I never got a scope. I bought the house kind of like on a quick bro deal. And like, they're like, you have no sewer left. I'm like, what? I had no idea. So I never got a scope. So then you start learning how the world works here a little bit with this, with all this stuff underground or inside the walls.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, you had mentioned this when I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, that, for youngsters out there who are maybe not sure what they want to do, that, a lot of the trade schools now are very productive in terms of creating opportunities in very well-paid or good-paying jobs. But you were saying that plumbing is a good trade to pick up on right now, and you're always looking for good plumbers, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a big shortage for that type of stuff. I think in any kind of trade, really, there's a big shortage. With sewer operators, people with CDL drivers, people who can drive dump trucks and septic trucks, all that type of stuff. There's always a need for that. And a lot of that those people that were in that field, their projections are looking pretty dire as far as like being able to replace some of these guys that have been doing it for 40 years. There's just not enough people. So, it's a great thing to get into. And I don't think robotics and AI are going to be able to plumb anytime soon. They're not going to be able to deal with what we deal with, where you have to make a judgment call in the field. You still have someone making these decisions of what's best and what's most cost effective. You still have to think and then execute on what needs to be done.
All right. Bruce Zielsdorf, who is the owner of Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. So your website is AxiomPDX.com, and it's AXIOM, AxiomPDX.com. If people who are listening have any of the issues that you talked about, like something's not draining well, or they don't have the right water pressure, what's the best way to contact you for information?
Yeah, just get on the website. You can fill out a form, or our phone number's right at the top there, and we have dispatchers, and we can get you on the schedule. I didn't mention for septic too. I mean, the big thing for that is just maintenance and pumping the tank. That's the big thing, is making sure you're on it. So that was one thing I forgot to say. But like, it's all that, it's just maintenance and keeping an eye on things. If you see leaks, they're not going to go away, right? And so like, if you need anything,
they don't magically disappear.
No, I wish they did. Right?
Dang it.
But yeah, so we can, just give us a call. It's 503-833-2449. And then, fill out anything, email, anyway, smoke signals, we'll get them.
All right, AxiomPDX.com, AXIOM. He mentioned the phone number, 503-833-2449. They handle all things water and waste. Bruce Zielsdorf, who is born and raised, he is a Northwesterner, Portland guy through and through, and doing great work with a local business. Bruce, I appreciate you. Thanks for your partnership, but also thanks for coming in to share your story.
For sure, man.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Ian Furness is going to join us for this run. Big thanks to Bruce Zielsdorf of Axiom Plumbing, Sewer's ridiculous run. Big thanks to Bruce Zielsdorf of Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. Check them out online at AxiomPDX.com. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, our next guest is a very good friend and no stranger to Portland. He's on 93.3 FM KJR in Seattle 1 to 3 weekdays and also part of the Kraken Hockey Radio Network. It's Ian Furness, who is here on the Rip City Drive. Ian, long time no chat. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, buddy, but not the Kraken Radio Network, the Kraken Hockey Network TV side, buddy. They don't let me on the radio up here for Kraken, just TV.
Well, you could do radio. You're great with hockey, and I did. I'm so accustomed to radio; it just flows out. But, dude, I'm so happy for you, man. How much fun are you having calling Kraken games, dude?
Well, I'm just hosting. I'm hosting the studio shows for pre, post, and in intermissions, and I'm having a blast. This is year number 2. It's a blast. I work with some great people. Our broadcasts are really good. I say that not because I'm involved, but because the people involved, John Forsland, who's our analyst, and Brett Festerling, whose brother played for the Winterhawks, who's great, played in the NHL, and Ken, who's our analyst, and Brett Festerling, whose brother played for the Winterhawks, who's great, played in the NHL. And we have a great show, man. We have a really good show, and I'm having fun. Our building's great. The team seems to be much improved from last year, so yeah, it's a great gig, man. I'm loving every bit of it.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to see you having great success. So we'll get to what the Kraken have going down here in Portland in just a moment, but I wanted your take on the Seattle Mariners, Ian. I've been blown away by what we've seen with this run throughout the end of the regular season into the postseason. I guess what surprised me, the conventional wisdom was coming out of that Game 5 against Detroit was that they would be gassed upon arrival in Toronto, and then all of a sudden you get Miller go out there and have the performance he did, and then the bats came to life in game number 2. I mean, what's been the key to their success throughout this postseason thus far in your mind?
Chad, I think it's depth, to be honest with you. They're a deep pitching staff. The starters, they can go 1 through 5. I mean, Bryce Miller, for all intents and purposes, you mentioned him in the outing he had. Bryce Miller is basically their 5 starter. Brian Wu's been out. He's on the ALCS roster. He's active for this series. He wasn't active for the ALDS. But, I mean, he was their all-star this year. He's a stud. And so they've done it without him so far. Luis Castillo, they call him the Rock because, frankly, he is just that. He's just as solid as they come. Logan Gilbert Kirby may have the best stuff. Gilbert may be the best pitcher. And Bryce Miller is just really good. So, they do it with starting pitching. Their bullpen is really good, especially the back end of it. They're high leverage guys. Munoz is as good a closer as there is in the game. He was an all-star this season. Brash, great setup guy. And then, like you mentioned, Chad, the bats came alive, and they're really deep there too. Like 1 through 9 can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and I don't know how into the analytics you guys are down there in Portland and Rip City with Blazers and the NBA now, but the analytics nerds, the baseball nerds, tell us that teams that hit home runs at a high rate usually have good success in the playoffs because it's hard to string together, big innings and a lot of hits in a row. And Seattle hits home runs at a higher rate than all but one team in the league. That one team happened to be the Yankees, but Seattle's pitching's better, and that's why they're where they are right now.
We're talking with Ian Furness, 93.3 KGR FM and the Kraken Hockey Network here on the Rip City Drive. Cal Raleigh, how important was that a couple of years ago when he called out the front office for not giving them the help that they needed to make a run, and then the manager told him to pipe down, but you see him get the extension, and then this trade deadline, they got real aggressive. Like, how important is Cal, not just on the field, but to the entire operation?
Yeah, that's where listen, the 60 home runs and everything he does on the field, managing the pitching staff and all those things. And by the way, it was a crime today. He wasn't named a finalist for the Gold Glove as a catcher. It's almost like we're playing JV sports here in Major League Baseball. We got to spread the awards around and stuff this year. But he's the best defensive catcher in the game. Proved that last year. Didn't allow a pass ball this year. But I think what you said is interesting. Yeah, he called out management ownership for frankly being cheap. And if I'm being honest, they're still cheap. They're really cheap. That's who they are. But he kind of forced their hand. And I think when he did that, he got the fan base on their side. And I'm sure the baseball people, Jerry DiPoto is president of baseball operations, Justin Hollander's their GM, I'm sure quietly they were kind of nodding in agreement. Yeah, he got scolded by Service, Scott Service, as you mentioned. But, Chad, you know what the easiest way to look at that is? One guy's still here and the other guy's not. That service is gone. So I think it was it resonated, whatever he said.
Would you give him the MVP?
Yes. And I'm not saying that as a Seattle guy. I think, the stats that, Judge's batting average is obviously higher. But we're at a point in this world where if we're looking at batting average, then we've got some problems. There's too many other numbers to look at. Then someone will counter with, well, look at his F-WAR. And I'll counter with, he plays the hardest defensive position in baseball, and he plays it 120, 130 times a year. Aaron Judge either A, stands in right field, or B, DHs, and most of the time after he came back from his injury, he DH'd. One guy has to go through scouting reports before every series for the opposing team, and then every game he's going through scouting reports for the lineup, and he's grinding like a quarterback in the NFL. The other guy stands in right field or hits 4 times a game. It's not even close. I mean, it's not even close. If we want to start going through all the other stuff, listen, I'd ask you this, Chad. If he was in L.A. or New York, would he be the MVP without question?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, I thought for most of the year that there's no chance he would get it, but I think he might. I think enough people have. I think he might. The fact they won the division, they got a bye in the first round. They were a 2 seed, and they don't do that without him. I think he may end up getting it. I think there might be some Yankee and New York fatigue along the way.
Yeah, and the way I define MVP, it's different. I just look at the guy and I'm like, if you take him off the team, where are they at? And the one thing I know about Seattle is that Cal is as important to the Mariners as any other player for any other team in the sport. I truly believe that.
Yeah, well, and look at, Judge missed a lot of time this year too, right? And they still made the playoffs. If you would have taken Cal off this roster for, even 5 to 7 days this year, what you just said wouldn't have happened, right? They wouldn't have won the division. They might have been still a playoff team, but they would have had to go through the wild card part of it too. So, yeah, he had a historical year for that position. He broke records held by Johnny Bench and guys like that. I mean, that's just if that happens, it shouldn't even be a question. But I kind of think that he'll get it. The Baseball Writers Association of America, I mean, we see how they handle the Hall of Fame voting every year. You get some curmudgeons there that don't want to vote a guy, unanimous, so they're going to take a stand. Well, Ichiro shouldn't be unanimous, or, Derek Jeter or Ken Griffey shouldn't be unanimous. So who knows how they'll vote, but I do believe he is not only deserving, but I think he'll actually win it as well.
We're talking with Ian Furness here on the Rip City Drive. What are you expecting for the Lane Lambert era with the Kraken?
I think we've seen it already. A lot more structure, more discipline. He's got an edge to him that Dave Haxtell had. They got him to the playoffs a couple of years ago, but he's got a human side that maybe Dan Bilesma had. It's kind of combining both of their previous coaches in a sense. He added a couple guys in the staff, specifically Chris Taylor's his assistant, who runs the power play now. He took that role over, and he's done a great job. They've had a power play goal in all 3 games, and that unit looks better. I think it's a much improved team. They don't have the high-end guys. They don't have the superstars, the aircraft carriers like a Connor McDavid and guys like Nathan McKinnon, guys like that, but they're deep. Kind of like we just talked about the Mariners. Like they're, Cal's an MVP candidate, but really, you look at the Mariners roster, like they're 1 through 9, they can hit. The Kraken lines 1, 2, 3, and 4 can all contribute. The defensive pairings, all 3, so 1 through 6, those guys are good. And Joey DeCourt's an elite goaltender. I think they're going to be a lot better. The Western Conference is a beast. It's really hard. Their early schedule is brutal. I mean, the schedule makers must hate us out here. I don't know what's going on. Like, open at home against a really good young Anaheim team, have to play Vegas, and then the 6-game road trip, which is the tied for the second longest in team history, against 5 of 6 teams went to the playoffs last year. But they're unbeaten in regulation the first 3. So good times there. I like Lane a lot. Western Canadian guy, has some Western Hockey League ties, so I'm always biased to that. But I think so far so good.
I get a lot of questions about how people can watch and listen to the Kraken games. And, of course, we carry a portion of the season here on 620 Rip City Radio. But this is pretty cool. From my understanding, Ian, Portland residents can watch the Kraken games for free over the air on KGW. That's sweet.
Yeah, so last year was the first year of the Kraken Hockey Network, which is the TV side of our broadcast. And we left Root Sports, which, by the way, no longer exists. And because, frankly, it's, listen, Portland residents know all too well, right? Like, I worked for Comcast Sportsnet Northwest, and I remember how frustrating it was for Blazer fans. We did some good shows back in the day in the mid-2000s, like in 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14 in there. We did some really good shows. Did some good television. People couldn't see it, they were charging a lot. The cable companies charged a lot. The Kraken decided to, before last season, we're going to go over the air. So we're over the air on basically all the Tegna stations across the Northwest. And, Seattle obviously is King and Kong, but down there KGW and their secondary channel and Prime Video. If you have, and everyone has Prime, right? Everyone has Amazon Prime. We watch Thursday Night Football on that. So if you're in the footprint, and Portland definitely is, you can watch the games also on Prime Video. So Portland's a massively important market for us. Like Chad, I can't even emphasize it enough. The Portland market is second only to Seattle and right there with Seattle. I think the Kraken have done a great job of understanding the hockey history and everything going on in Portland with the Winterhawks over the years, Buckaroos before that, and it's a really important market for us. And we've seen it. We've seen the TV numbers, big hockey market down there. And so it's really good for us to be over the air now, so it doesn't cost you an extra $15 a month.
All right, so I think there's going to be a watch party this Saturday, which is October 18th, 2 o'clock. I think it's at the Left Bank Annex in Portland. What can you tell us about that? I know it's free to the public.
Yeah, so that's where it's at. The doors open at 2. Game starts at 4. We have a pregame show on TV at 3:30. And so we will be there. I say we, myself, and Brett Festerling, who's one of our analysts. His brother Garrett played for the Winterhawks a few years ago. Brett played in the Western Hockey League for Tri-Cities in Vancouver, then had a nice career in the pro hockey in the National Hockey League. So Brett and I are coming down on Saturday. We're going to do all kinds of inserts, live shots, and so forth with the fans, the background, the Portland fans, and really kind of showcase the Portland hockey fan during our broadcast all day. 3:30 pregame, 4 o'clock drop of the puck, and then the postgame show afterwards at that Left Bank Annex. It's family-friendly, open to the public, free. Our mascot, Bowie's going to be there. A ton of giveaways, all kinds of prizes to be given away. So if you're Portland and the Winterhawks are out of town, so we're going to welcome all the Winterhawk fans, all the Portland hockey fans down there Saturday. Should be a ton of fun. Mike Johnson is going to come by. We'll talk to him.
Nice.
And a billet family, and Tyson Jugnuff, who played for the Winterhawks last year, he's in Coachella, which is the Kraken's minor league team, basically their AAA team. He's in Coachella Valley down in Palm Springs right now. Tyson Jugnuff will be in Seattle playing this season for the Kraken. He had an unreal training camp, Chad. Like he was probably the biggest surprise and really kind of the guy that took the biggest leap this year. So we had Oliver Bjorkstrand for a number of years, and I'm guessing Tyson Jugnuff will be in that defensive core here real soon too.
All right, Ian, one more hockey question for you. How many representatives are the Kraken going to send to the Milano Cortina games?
Philip Grubauer is going for Germany
right
now. I believe Tolvanen and Kaapo Kakko are in the mix for Finland. Every country kind of does it differently. Joey DeCord went to the U.S. camp as a goalie. He played for the U.S. team last year in the World Championships last spring. I think Joey right now is, if you're just kind of filling out a depth chart for the Americans, I think Joey would be 3 or 4 on the depth chart for the U.S. They'll take 3 goalies, so he's got an outside chance to get there as well. So Brandon Montour also went for Team Canada for their orientation camp. I'd say he's more of a long shot. Grubauer for sure, maybe Tolvanen, Kaapo Kakko, and I'm going to guess. You never know with guys getting hurt and banged up. Joey's been so good early on. I think Team USA is going to take a long, hard look at him because he's been better than a couple guys that are, supposedly ahead of him right now. He's certainly better than Swayman in Boston. So I like to see him there. He's a gamer, man. He's an absolute gamer. You'd want him on your team, if nothing else, in that locker room. So yeah, there's probably a chance for a handful of guys.
That's awesome. Oh, by the way, is Jackson Smith and Jigba going to lead the NFL in receiving? I'm loving the connection between he and Darnold right now.
Well, with Nakua out, yes. with Nakua and Ibuka out, yeah, man, I think he might, right? Like he's unbelievable, and everyone freaked out when they traded DK.
Yeah.
And Tyler Lockett, the rotting carcass of the formerly good receiver that is named Tyler Lockett was gone. I mean, he's 85 years old. Yeah, they knew what they were. John Schneider knows one thing, Chad. He knows it's the old Kenny Rogers thing, right? No one to hold him, no one to fold him. Like,
yeah.
He knows when to get rid of an overpriced quarterback, Russ, Gino, and he knows when you don't need to have that second or third or fourth contract. And Tyler's going to be in the Ring of Honor someday. In Seattle, he was a great Seahawk. It was time. He was a non-factor last year. They knew what they had in Jackson Smith and Jigba. Horton's going to be really good as well. Cooper Kupp looks fresh and looks rejuvenated. Guy has never missed a leg or an arm day in his life. He's healthy this year. They're pretty good up front. And Sam Darnold, we asked this question on our show today. You're an NFL guy. How many quarterbacks in the NFL would you take above Sam Darnold right now? I mean, there's a handful. I get that, but probably not many, right?
No, not many. In fact, if you look at his play last year in Minnesota and the first part of this season with Seattle, he's been a top 10 quarterback in the league during that time span, in my mind.
It's weird what happens when you leave, I don't know, New York.
Yeah, the Jets or the Browns. It's funny, the Browns, they have a championship quality defense. They could use a guy like Baker, and it's like, oh, they did have him, but they weren't patient enough, and now he's balling out in Tampa. Idiots. And the Jets are terrible.
Well, if you play for the Jets or the Giants or the Cleveland Browns and you're a quarterback, you've got no chance to succeed, man.
Zero.
You just have somewhere Derek Anderson's driving around out there in Scappoose, shaking his head going, damn right.
All right, Ian Furness from the Kraken Hockey Network here on the Rip City Drive. The watch party is going to be this Saturday at 2 o'clock, the Left Bank Annex. That's when the doors open. He's going to be in town for it. Ian, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking time. It was great to catch up with you.
Great to talk to you, Chad. Yeah, let's get some hockey fans. Get some Portland hockey fans out there. Lots of stuff to give away. Bring the kids, see, meet, Bowie, all that fun stuff. We'll get you on TV as well. And Chad, great to hear your voice. You're kicking butt down there, man. Congratulations on your success.
Well, I always appreciate you and always thank you for being kind to me, my friend. It means a lot to me.
Take care.
You got it. There's Ian Furness. Love that guy. All right. The watch party is going to be on the 18th at 2 o'clock, the Left Bank Annex in Portland. Doors open at 2. All right. We'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. Big thanks to Bruce from Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. I don't know what I ate last night, but it smells like a sewer in the studio right now. Oops. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I've got 2 pairs of Trailblazer tickets for the opener to give away, and we'll do it here in the final hour. Minutes away from your chance to win. Yeah, I'm bummed out. My boy Steve and I were supposed to go to the Texas Tech Arizona State game this weekend down in Tempe. We knew it was going to be a big game before the season began, and of course, it's going to be a big game. And what sucks is that we were all planned. I had everything. I had the plane ticket, your hotel reserved, and everything. And I have work to do, so I can't go. So my boy Steve's going to roll down by himself. So his birthday, he just turned 61 or whatever his age is a couple of days ago. So I went ahead and bought him his hotel room down there to say happy birthday. So I don't get to go, which sucks. I hate it when work gets in the way of things that are going to be awesome. Now, the good news is it looks like Sam Levitt is going to play. And I told you I was looking for inside info. And because I know someone that works here in the office whose son played with Levitt at Westland, I was like, hey, I need the skinny. Because here's what Kenny Dillingham is saying. Because they kept him out of the Utah game last week with some undisclosed injury. Turns out it was a foot, like a foot injury, right? And then Dillingham was saying weird stuff like he's week to week. We're going to reevaluate. But once I got the intel, basically what they did is he could have played against Utah, but they didn't want to risk him getting hurt again and where they lose him for both games, Utah and Texas Tech. And in the Big 12 standings, you lose the Utah game, that's fine. But if you can bounce back and get the win over Tech, then, they'll be in fine position. So it looks like Sam Levitt's going to play, which my boy Steve is very happy about. And it's funny because you look at the line. When they got word after the Utah game, when they were uncertain and Kenny Dillingham was sending smoke signals, the line jumped to double digits. But now, after yesterday's practice, when it sure seemed like Levitt, who was practicing with the first team, now all of a sudden the line has dropped significantly. So it looks like Levitt's going to play, which is pretty cool. And I got more from Kenny Dillingham. I'm a big fan of his, former Oregon offensive coordinator, now head man down at Arizona State. Just take a listen to this. We heard from him the other day talking about accountability. He's like, hey, I hired everyone. I'm in charge. We don't have a general manager. Accountability starts with me. And if we don't win or my players are put in a bad position, that's on me. Like, he's not a guy who's going to point the finger. And I absolutely love that. But here is his definition of being all in. And I just respect him a ton.
Yeah, I mean, I think all in is constantly changing. I think all in is saying wherever, the top end is, we're gonna get there. I think so. Whatever it takes, I guess, is all in, and that number's changing, and that's what all in is constantly changing. It's like the person in seat one goes all in, and the other person's like, I like my hand too. I'm all in. Another $100 in there. Third person's like, you know what? I like my hand too. Or $100 in there. Like, I'm all in. All in's changing. So I think in college football right now, all in is constantly changing. So where are we from that? It's a moving target. And you got to be willing to adapt and move and do what's necessary to hit all in. And them as a program, they're definitely all in, from their facilities to Coach McGuire, his staff, the team they've put together. They've done a phenomenal job, and their program's all in. And you can see the results. And like I said, I'm excited. This should be a fun game, fun environment. And I'm ready to rock.
There he is. How can you not like that guy? And that's really what Dan Lanning was talking about, before the Oklahoma State game, or, being all in. We're in it to win it. And you got to be committed to that with all the resources that it takes to be able to get the job done now. Yeah, it's pretty simple. That's what it takes. Well, there's a motorcycle out there on I-5 right outside the studio window. It was so loud coming by that I thought that Shaka was playing motorcycle sounds in my ears.
It sounded like a wild animal in here.
It's like that. It reminds me of that. I got to see if I can find that. You remember the old Rainier beer commercials? Rainier beer. Back when beer commercials were phenomenal. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah, here it is. This is phenomenal. What do you mean an error occurred? I don't want an error. I want you to play the commercial, you dum-dums.
I thought it was my computer. Yeah,
Gosh, dang
YouTube's
it.
broken.
Let's try this one. I think the internet is bugging out in the studio right now. What in the world is going on? Thanks a lot, Rainier Beer.
I think IT won't allow us to watch YouTube videos because there's so many people who watch YouTube videos wasting time. But we need it because it's part of our job.
Do you think are they fixing the system where we can't do illegal things anymore?
I think so. I can't watch NFL games on NFL Plus on a work computer.
But you work for a sports station. What are you talking about? I don't understand. We work for the largest, communications company in the world. And they make communicating very difficult.
I can't even play podcasts right now.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Great. They're screwing us, man. Because you and I, this is how Shacker and I work. We're not exactly detail guys. We just kind of do what we want to do and get the job done and do it right without asking questions. And we're the type of people that will cause the occasional issue because of our willingness to just proceed. That's a nice way of putting it. All right, let's see if my computer works. Come on, get to it. That's so good. You see the motorcycle come by. This is like set in the 70s or whatever. Rainier beer. And then it's like Mount Rainier. It's the motorcycle's heading towards Mount Rainier. That was good. That was the good old days. I remember when they had the Lucky Brewery. I never had Lucky Beer. They had Lucky Brewery down in downtown Vancouver. I never would have thought that the waterfront in Vancouver would be nicer than the waterfront in Portland, but here we are with that. Yeah, the waterfront in Vancouver is amazing. Oh, great. Oh, this segment's really, it's gotten the crapper. Just clip this out, Shacker, and send this radio segment to, it belongs in the Hall of Fame, wherever that's at. Just send it there right now.
Oh, my computer isn't working. I can't do it.
All right, let's recap this segment real quick. Kenny Dillingham sharing his thoughts on All In. Chad playing a illegal YouTube video for Rainier Beer. And then wondering why hot farts smell worse than regular farts. That's Hall of Fame worthy right there. All right, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, which is every day this week. We got two pairs to give away. We'll do one next. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. What's up? 5 o'clock, Chad here. Trailblazers finish up their preseason tomorrow night in Salt Lake City against the Jazz. That tip-off will be at 6. Chris Burkhart will have Blazers game day at 4. I'll have Rip City Drive from 3 until 4. And I've got tickets the rest of the week. I have 2 pair to give away today. First, Seattle Mariners, 2 wins away from the World Series. They're hosting the Blue Jays. That first pitch comes. Seattle Mariners, 2 wins away from the World Series. They're hosting the Blue Jays. That first pitch coming up in just a couple of moments on FS1. Seattle trying to go up 3-0. And the Dodgers will host the Brewers tomorrow. They lead their series in the NLCS 2-0. They won 5-1 last night in Milwaukee to take game 2. More of the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing coming at you right now. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is 0 for 7 with a 125 OPS in the American League Championship Series thus far. That's pretty awesome. So far in the series, they're 7 of 19 at the plate in innings 1 through 2, and they're abysmal from innings 3 through 9. What's going to happen tonight? Will Seattle continue to apply the pressure and go up 3-0? I think probably the best plan is don't jack around. Just take care of business. You win game 3 tonight. We know they're not going to win 4 straight games. And then Seattle can start planning their World Series trip, which is amazing. It's going to be Mariners-Dodgers. That is a fabulous series, in my opinion. 503-248-0620. All right. It is time for Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday on a Wednesday. I have tickets all week for the opener. Since I only have a 1-hour program tomorrow, Shacker and I have made an executive decision to give away 2 pairs today. So you have double the chances to win today. Now, this is for the game a week from tonight on the 22nd against Minnesota. And it's going to be real basketball. That's the important part. No fake basketball. No more preseason games after tomorrow. You'll be able to sit back and see how this team is getting after it. And like I mentioned before, love the way Klingon's playing right now. Tamani Kamara, Denny Avdia, Drew Holiday. A lot of pieces to like about this squad right now. So we will take caller number 13, lucky number 13 right now. If you would like to see the Trailblazers in their season opener against Minnesota, call now, 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Call now. Michael Shacker's waiting patiently for you. 503-248-0620. Caller 13 will get a pair of tickets for the Trailblazers and the Minnesota Timberwolves coming up on the 22nd. 503-248-0620. Call now. Call now! 503-248-0620. I want to hear from a Blazer fan. Show me your Blazer. 503-248-0620. And the phones are lit up. Nice work. And we'll do another pair before the end of the show. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. All right, I want you to hear this. Enjoyed this little interaction between Dan Lanning, head coach at Oregon, and the press. He was asked a question relating back to the Indiana game, and Lanning's like, yo, we're moving on. Take a listen to this.
Whether it was miscommunication or just really good defense on Indiana's part in terms of simulated pressures and causes confusion up front. Then
you guys know we're playing Rutgers, right? We did Monday press conference already, but go ahead.
But it's something that will come up again. So they're asking for Rutgers.
Do you watch Rutgers?
Not as heavy a simulated pressure. I'm saying in future games, starting this week and the rest of the season,
Mm-hmm.
where do you feel the corrections are this week to what happened last week?
We corrected them. Yeah, we corrected them on Monday. Any other Indiana questions? They played really good, guys. They played really good. They had a better plan than us, and we played that game last Saturday.
See, I'm with Dan Lanning on this. The Duck fans that I spoke with, freaking out with the loss to Indiana. I understand it was surprising to all of us that Indiana, who we thought was doing, like the double step up in weight class, was able to go into Autzen and physically dominate both sides of the football. Like, I did not anticipate that, but they did that. But so what? They lost the game. I think it's still going to take people a while to figure out that in today's college football with the expanded playoff that you no longer have to grip when your team drops a game. In fact, the Ducks can drop 2 games and still make the playoff. And I don't think the loss is bad. I think Indiana is just a freaking awesome football team. I didn't know that, but I know it now. And I know that Curt Cignetti's one of the best coaches in college football. Literally one of the best. And it goes back to what Alex Brink was talking about yesterday, where, it's not like Indiana's got access to the best talent in the country, but he was making the point that, Indiana provides an example of what college football is going to become. A lot of these schools can't afford the top dollar prospects to fill up a roster, like Ohio State. But what that's going to do for guys like Coach Cignetti is to go out, scour the portal. Obviously, you want to continue with the recruiting, but being able to recognize talent, being able to see guys who may not be fully developed, who are going to be able to contribute. And if you coach them up, they're going to be able to be effective football players. And that's what we've seen at Indiana. I mean, if you go through it with a fine-tooth comb, the only big change they made a couple years ago was hiring Coach Cignetti. Like, he is largely responsible for this ridiculous turnaround. They played a great football game. They executed on both sides. They pushed guys off the line of scrimmage and dominated. And it was unexpected, but, the Ducks got to move on. He's like, yeah, we corrected the mistakes. But I guess people, like somehow Oregon's immune to losing a football game? Yeah, they went unbeaten last year, but going unbeaten in the regular season it's a rarity in college football, especially now with the parity. The Ducks are still one of the best teams in the country. They're still the same team they were before they kicked off against Indiana last week. And I think this loss to Indiana is going to be good for them because it does allow them, as a coaching staff, as a team, to be able to take a look at the areas where they need to improve. And then you get the guys' attention, and they start really focusing in on the details. So I expect a much better performance against Rutgers coming up this weekend. But Dan Lanning, you got to love him. Intense at all times.
Whether it was miscommunication or just really good defense on Indiana's part in terms of simulated pressures and causes confusion up front. Then
you guys know we're playing Rutgers, right? We did Monday press conference already, but go ahead.
But it's something that will come up again. So they're asking for Rutgers.
Do you watch Rutgers?
Not as heavy a simulated pressure. I'm saying in future games, starting this week and the rest of the season,
mm-hmm.
where do you feel the corrections are this week to what happened last week?
We corrected them. Yeah, we corrected them on Monday. Any other Indiana questions? They played really good, guys. They played really good. They had a better plan than us, and we played that game last Saturday.
Come on, Dan. You're not allowed to lose a football game. It happens. I mean, Kenny Dillingham talked about that after the loss to Utah. He's like, hey, we got outworked, outcoached, outplayed. And they completely moved us off the line of scrimmage. And then he took accountability this week because he realized one of the things he recognized is that he went too soft on his veteran guys throughout the course of their bye week. They had a bye before Utah, and they didn't really get after it in practice, didn't tackle, and they showed up in Utah and got physically manhandled. They didn't block or tackle well. So what did he do this week getting ready for Texas Tech? They tackled, more of a physical type practice. But Dan Lanning's going to be fine. Dan Lanning's not perfect. No coach is. Oh, speaking of coaches, too, I've been talking about the Penn State Nittany Lions. They've got a ton of money to work with to be able to find their next head coach. I think Curt Cignetti makes a lot of sense, mainly because he's one of those guys that, I mean, look at what he's done in Indiana. So obviously you're going to have interest in Cignetti. He's got Pennsylvania ties. But I also think you take a look, when you're a school with that much money, that many resources, and you're in a big-time conference, they need to reach out to everyone. Like if I was running Penn State, I'm calling Nick Saban too. I'm going to call Nick Saban and see if he has interest. And if he doesn't, that's fine. But make the phone call. I'm reaching out to Marcus Freeman. I'd reach out to Dan Lanning. Like I would reach out to all of the top coaches in the country and see if they have interest and offer some ridiculous, absurd amount. Because if you can afford it and you can, pry a great coach away, that's a win. And when you've got the type of money they have to work with, you might as well give it a shot. But I would go after everyone, not just Cignetti. I'd call Saban. I'm calling Lanning. I'm looking at Marcus Freeman and just see. Sometimes guys will change their mind. I would never leave Notre Dame. I don't know how many times I have to tell you I'm not going to be the head coach at Alabama. We know how coaches lie. That's what coaches do. But I would offer as many zeros as possible. Money has a way of influencing people's decision-making. So there you have it. But I like Dan Lanning. The Ducks are going to be fine. They're an exceptional football team with a lot of talent. They just got manhandled. They were coming out the bye week. They had just beaten Penn State. Maybe they kind of fell into the same type of trap that Arizona State did, where you get a little bit fat and happy, don't come out with the same type of intensity or focus, and then your physicality is not where it needs to be, and you can't match that of Indiana. It would just be easier if it would have been Ohio State or Michigan or some traditional football power. It's a lot easier to accept the loss. But when it's to Indiana, you're like, what are we doing losing to Indiana? But they are that good. They're just a really good football team this year. And they were last year, too. They're better this year than last year when they went to the playoff. All right, Mariners and Blue Jays have just gotten underway up at T-Mobile Park. And nobody on, one out right now in the first inning. So we'll see how things continue to shake out. Kirby's on the bump for Seattle. I think Bieber's going to go for Toronto. And Seattle's got a chance, an opportunity to take a 3-0 lead in the ALCS, if you can believe that, as they continue to push towards their very first World Series. All right, we'll keep things rolling. I want to talk some football when we come back. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, congratulations to Doris Martin, who won our first pair of tickets to give away. Nice work, Doris. That's on with no scoreless. Bottom of the first up in Seattle. The Mariners do have one on with nobody out. This bottom of the first up in Seattle. The Mariners do have one on with nobody out as they look to get an early lead. And guess who's at the plate? Cal Raleigh. Big dumper himself. So we'll see what Cal's able to put together here at the plate as Seattle looks to go up 3-0 in the ALCS as they near their first ever trip to the World Series, which is amazing. So pretty exciting. 503-248-0620. I'm going to give away another pair of tickets this segment. So you have to listen for your cue to call. And then you can be like Doris and score tickets for the season opener on the 22nd, courtesy of me and your Portland Trailblazers. 503-248-0620. So ALCS tonight, and then the NLCS with the Dodgers and Brewers will kick off Game 3 tomorrow as they shift scenes to L.A. But the Mariners in full control of this series like the Dodgers are in the NLCS. Interesting week of games here in the NFL. Thursday Night Football tomorrow. The Steelers are a 4.5-point favorite at the Bengals, which Joe Flacco is referring to as the Icy Hot Bowl. But I think kind of a dangerous spot for Pittsburgh here, who has gotten off to a very good start at 4-1. You know, the Bengals are terrible. One of the worst teams in football right now. And it's not a surprise because they are a rudderless ship with the leadership they have at the top and no Joe Burrow, which is a problem. Like, that's pretty much when they knew their season was over, is when friggin' Burrow got hurt. It sucks because I love watching Burrow play. But interesting game. The one thing that gives me pause from just putting a W down in the win column for Pittsburgh is, you know, Joe Flacco coming in to Cincy, he kind of stabilizes things because, you know, he is a veteran guy who's been around. So you're not going to confuse him with certain defensive looks or other things that you have going down. So it makes it a little bit easier to run the offense. And he was serviceable in that game against Green Bay last weekend, you know, when he came in with no experience in the playbook or the teammates around him. But it's not too difficult. Like, if I was quarterback for the Bengals, like, if they called me up and said, Chad, we need you to start a game for us because we're, you know, Burrow's out and we're having injury issues. Joe Flacco just got hurt. If I stepped in, it wouldn't be hard for me to figure out what to do with the football. Where's Jamar Chase? All right, I'm going to throw it to that guy. On Sunday, another early game over in London with the Rams and Jaguars. The Rams right now are a 3.5-point favorite. That smells like a underdog special right there. The Jaguars have made more trips to London than any other NFL team, I believe. They're used to the trip. They know what to do. And the Rams are a bit beat up right now, coming off the win over the Ravens. And the Jaguars, frustrating because they're playing good football. They're 4-2, and their defense has been opportunistic. They've been running the football well, but they're getting inconsistent play from Trevor Lawrence, who continues to baffle me. Like, what kind of a player is he? Is he good? Is he not good? Is he elite? Is he not elite? Like, he has moments in games where you're like, dude, I forgot he could make throws like that. And then he'll do things that are just like, what are you doing? So he continues to be an enigma, but I like the Jags over the Rams at Wembley Stadium. Saints are at the Bears. The Saints are 1-5, but they've been very competitive. I like the way they're playing hard, playing with some desperation. The Bears are coming off the big Monday night victory in Washington over the Commanders. And the Bears are one of the hotter teams in football right now at 3-2. And I like Chicago to get the win here against the Saints. Dolphins are at the Browns. Now, the Dolphins, as you know, like the Browns, both teams are a mess right now. I like Cleveland in this game. I like them because I like their defense. And the Seattle Mariners have just gotten on the board. Julio Rodriguez with a 2-run bomb. And the Mariners on top, 2-0, bottom of the first in Seattle with 1 out. Arozarena got on, stole second, and then Julio just hit a home run. And the place is going crazy. So the Mariners in control early in game number 3. 414 feet. Exit velocity of 112 miles per hour. Nice work, Julio. Man, the Mariners on fire right now. fire. Big time. It's great to see T-Mobile Park on fire, filled with fans and going crazy. So a 2-run bomb for Julio. I like the Browns over the Dolphins because I think their defense, their park, on the grass, they're going to be able to slow down the offensive attack of the Dolphins, and I think they're going to get pressure on Tua. And Dylan Gabriel, you probably don't want the guy throwing 52 times for crying out loud, but if he doesn't turn it over, which he's done a decent job of so far protecting the football, they should have enough with their defense to take out the Dolphins. After Julio's homer that went into the M's bullpen, Polanco just got up and hit a double. So the Mariners right now cruising bottom of the first in Seattle. And Polanco's been money. Like when he steps up to the plate right now, I just have confidence he's going to come through. And now Naylor at the plate. He's got a chance to bring in another run with a base hit. And I love Naylor. He was huge in that Game 5 against Detroit, and he's off to a great start here in the ALCS. But a base hit would put another run on the board for the Mariners and give them a 3-0 lead. They have one out, and Polanco's on second with Naylor at the plate. Awesome. All right, Patriots are at the Titans. I guess I like the Patriots. I don't care about the coaching change. Mike McCoy's going to take over for Coach Callahan in Tennessee because they fired him because he's terrible. He was 4-19 during his tenure with Tennessee. I just can't. I couldn't bet on the Titans. I can't believe in the Titans. They're just an awful offense right now, and their run defense is not exactly spectacular. Raiders are going to be at the Chiefs. Kansas City right now a 12.5-point favorite. I like the Raiders to keep it close. I think Kansas City wins, but I don't think they're going to blow them out. The Raiders always play the Chiefs tough at Arrowhead, and I expect nothing different. The problem is I just don't have any trust or confidence in Geno Smith. There's apparently frustrations between Pete and Chip and the way that he's calling the games. How about this? How about just run the football with Ashton Genty and try not to let Geno Smith get in the way of wins? He's been awful this year. I mean, just mind-boggling decision-making by Geno Smith. His turnovers have been very costly. Eagles at the Vikings. I like the Vikes in this one. They're a short underdog, 1.5 points at home. Philly right now, the problem with the Eagles is not that they're not a good team. They just are dealing with so many injuries, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And can you imagine, like, the ultimate insult to injury? How about the Vikings? What if Carson Wentz carves up the Eagles and gets another win and Philly drops their third straight? Like, Philly fan would not like that. Panthers are at the Jets. Hideous. The Panthers coming off that home win over Dallas, and the Jets are arguably the worst team in football right now at 0-6. Like, they can't run the ball. They don't throw the ball. Like, they don't really do too much well right now. And Justin Fields was sacked 9 times in that game last week against Denver. The Broncos were terrible, but the Jets are so bad they couldn't capitalize. Giants are at the Broncos. Love this game. It's painful for me because I love Cam Scatterboo, and he's going to be going up against Denver. But I love the energy that the youth with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo have provided for that lineup. But we'll see how they look. They've looked good at home over the last 3 weeks. 2 games at home, one against the Chargers, they win. Then they go on the road and get beat by the Saints, and then they go back home and beat the Eagles. Like, I think that we're going to see some up and down play from the Giants because of the youth, but I feel pretty good about this spot for Denver. I think Denver, Bo Nix, as a favorite at home, has been dominant in his early part of his career. I like the way the Giants are playing. I like some of their playmakers on defense, but I think the Broncos get the win here. And I expect them to cover the 7.5. Colts at the Chargers. 5-1 against 4-2. Chargers minus 1.5. Love the Chargers here. I think they top the Colts and get the job done. Commanders at the Cowboys. Washington's a 1.5 point favorite. I know one thing. Dallas is going to be able to move the football, and Dak Prescott's playing sensational football right now. The problem is their defense is so bad. So if you're Washington, the formula is pretty simple. Run the football because the Cowboys can't stop the run. I like the Packers minus 6.5 over the Cardinals in Arizona. It looks like Kyler Murray's probably going to be out. I like the 49ers at home over the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. San Francisco favored by 2.5. The Falcons coming off that Monday night win at home against the Bills. And then we have another dreaded Monday Night Football doubleheader. Love the Lions at home against the Bucks, -5.5. And then I think the Seahawks win a gritty, tough defensive game against the Texans. So, decent lineup, a couple of good games. Really like the way Seattle's playing coming off that win against Jacksonville. That defensive front, the way they get pressure, very nice. They got some guys back who are healthy now for the Jacksonville game. And the combination between Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigma looks really good. Like, very impressive. Now, in college football, some games to watch. On Friday, Louisville is going to be at number 2, Miami. We keep waiting for the Mario Cristobal effect to show up, and he loses a game from pure incompetence, but it hasn't happened yet. They're one of the best teams in the country. Their defense has been great, and their offensive line play has been elite. One of the best offensive lines in college football. On Saturday morning, Oklahoma ranked number 14, coming off the loss to Texas at South Carolina. Good game. At 12:30 on ABC, Ole Miss ranked 5th, coming out to win over WSU at number 9, Georgia, who is 5-1. The Dogs are favored by 7.5. I'm going to assume that the poor performance by the Rebels against Washington State was because they were looking ahead to this game. And the advantage for Georgia this year, aside from the Bama loss, the key teams, that they have to face are all at home, including Ole Miss. A game they dropped last year on the road. Number 7, Texas Tech is at Arizona State, 1 o'clock on Fox. And the line's continuing to come down. It looks like Sam Levitt's going to play. This is a monster game in the Big 12. 3:30, Oregon at Rutgers. Ducks favored by 17.5. Tennessee at Bama, 4:30 on ABC. Also 4:30 NBC, USC at Notre Dame. Love this game here. I would expect Notre Dame to win. They're getting great quarterback play right now from C.J. Carr. But the Trojans have been impressive, and I got to give Lincoln Riley some credit. He is back to running the offense the way he wants, which is we're going to run the football first. We're going to dominate with the run game and set up our quarterback, Jordan Mayava, in play action. Now, I was really impressed with that win against Michigan. The Wolverines are a difficult team to deal with at the point of attack. I thought USC might wear down over the course of the game and Michigan be able to run the football and dominate them with the ground game, but they did not. USC held up front. They were able to control the game up front, and they won and beat Michigan. The question is, can they go on the road and show resistance to the Irish? And unfortunately for the Notre Dame haters out there, Notre Dame, even with losses to A&M and Miami, if they win out and their schedule sets up nicely to do that, they'll be in the playoff. It's like the Notre Dame auto bid. Well, you only have 2 losses, you're in. Missouri at Auburn. Auburn just 3-3, underachieving once again. And an underrated great game at 5 on Fox, Utah at BYU. The Utes, 5-1, only loss coming to Texas Tech. BYU's unbeaten at 6-0. So we have the holy war here. And Utah's favored by 3.5. So very excited about some of the college football games. Very good games, conference games that we're going to have a chance to watch this weekend. They're in the top of the second up at T-Mobile Park right now. Mariners lead the Blue Jays 2-0 thanks to a 2-run bomb from Julio Rodriguez. And the Blue Jays, boy, it's tough. I mean, they're trying to get to manufacture some offense, but the bats have gone cold. And I just think that, based on some of the guys I've talked to who, played the game, Toronto on fire as they torch New York distance. But the problem is they finished that series early. Mariners-Tigers went the distance. But the problem is they finished that series early. Mariners-Tigers went the distance, and they had to wait for 3 days before they played another game.